Hello everyone, Krydax here, and welcome back to pyanodon's, where we've got a heap of coffee in a cup. A heap is a weird word to use for coffee. And coffee, and some motivation. Apparently not a clear ability to speak the human language, but human language? Maybe the English language. There's more than one human language, and I do not speak most of them. Alright, anyway, I digress big time, don't I? So, what we've got set up here is hopefully not gonna back up on sulfur. I don't think it will, because it's being provided at a higher priority, and this thing will eat a ton of sulfur whenever we need acid gas, I think. Assuming we don't already have enough acid gas. Uh-oh, did I not hook these up? I did something very wrong. Now that just doesn't make sense to me. Did I hook up the wrong... Oh, Krydax. Krydax. What you doing, mate? Come on now. Goodness. What is this crap that I've wrought upon myself? Okay. Well, that should fix that problem of not making enough sulfuric acid. And I guess the other thing is just, yeah, if this acid gas is low, which it is, then we should be shipping in new acid gas soon. Here. What are we... I deleted my acid gas request? What's happening? No, it's up here. Sorry. Acid gas request is up here. This is a separate acid gas doodad, which is providing acid gas. Right. This is the requester for acid gas. Okay. And then the sulfuric is here, and that's being provided. Right. And that's getting filled up as we speak. Right? Does those run? Yeah. Okay, and now these are running. So now we're actually getting our 100 a second instead of 50 a second. Goodness. How much does our rubber use? It does use the full 100 a second. Okay. But we're not using the full 4 rubber a second, right? So that's okay, I think. For now. Maybe not. This is stopped up again. Still the same problem? Probably was a formic acid or ammonia problem, but we just got a shipment of ammonia, so now it's running again. I think. Okay, so some people have noted a potential issue with moss, and they are correct. There is a chance this stops up. So one thing that someone was noting is like, okay, well, what if it switches over and there's not enough room in here? Well, there should be enough room in here because it'll always consume the stone from here before the stone from a train could run out. Because we're measuring the stone from a train, and if we receive 1,000 stone, it's going to consume the extra stone from here first. But the problem is, what if it then, very quickly after, got to the 5.5k threshold? Then we could run into an issue. So technically, I should have an SR latch that is basically when it switches to stone mode, it shouldn't stop being in stone mode until this is empty. So the way to do that is what? What's the way to do that? The way to do that is to add an SR latch with an output of red that adds a ghost amount of stone that's more than 50, as long as this was high, but then until it's gone low again. So essentially, if this gets filled up, no, that's wrong. No, it's not even an SR latch that we want. This is so confusing. Wait, how do we actually do this? Hold on, because if we just do an SR latch, where it's still showing that we have stone. Oh, it's just adding in. Right. No, that's fine, that's fine. Basically, we want to have, if stone, what's the correct one? And we can sorry, it's hard to talk while you're trying to think about this. So, what we want to do is output stone. Oh God, what do we do? Okay, we want to wait until it's greater than 2000. Then, once it is, we should just be able to do that. Stone is greater than 2000. Then, we will output a constant here. Oh, you can't output a constant on just green? Or... Oh, right. Never mind. Okay, so we'll have to do some other symbol. Yeah. This is tricky. It's tricky because the thing we're measuring is also the signal we want to send out. And so that messes with the SR latch version where you just add some of its own number to keep it going. So there's probably another way to SR latch this then, where we do like a clock symbol. So the stone is greater than 2K, or clock symbol equals 1 and stone is greater than 100. So then one of those two things is going to be true, and then we connect this to this. Okay, then it will output a ghosty signal that will keep this set to thinking it has enough stone, because we're adding 50. We should probably make it like 100. So that way this is gonna keep thinking it has enough stone until, well, until forever, until this is emptied out. The only way this turns off is when stone drops below 100. Once stone drops below 100, then it's done. Oh, wait. We need this to not be mixing, so we need this to be red. Yeah, we need it like that. Okay, there we go. So, if I'm correct, what this will do is it'll send that output of 100 stone. That'll add on to this. Which will mean that once it starts using the stone recipe, it's not going to stop because it thinks it's low on stone ever. And someone else had pointed out the inserter leaves gaps, but the inserter here is much, much faster. It's almost fast enough for all the stone that these need when they're on stone mode, which is annoying that I can't measure that right away, but when they're on stone mode, each one uses 0.02, 1.25 a minute. That's almost exactly 0.02. And so if we had 60, that would be 0.02 times 60, which is 1.2 stone a second. That doesn't sound right. It's more than that. Oh, because this has no modules in it. I was like, something's wrong here. Okay, there we go. I was like, that does not sound right. All right, 0.33 a second. That sounds more accurate. So 0.33 a second. By the way, this is another thing that PRCE, Production Rates Calculator Extreme, does that Max Rate does not do. Or, sorry, I keep calling it Max Rate Calculator because that's the old one. This is just Rate Calc by Rygaard. Anyway, Rate Calc cannot do ghosts, but PRCE can, which is actually really handy in this case. So we've got 0.33 times 60. So times 3 would be 1 stone a second. Times 6 is 2 stone a second. So we're looking at 20 stone a second. So this inserter alone can almost handle 20 stone a second, right? It can handle 18 stone a second. So we're only getting 2 stone per second additional that's gonna come from the outside, but we're consuming 18 of our stored up stone. So the only way it goes wrong is if like, actually I don't think it can go wrong. Because for any amount of time that it's consuming stone, it's consuming more from here than is getting added in. So if it switches back over... Wait, I don't actually know if we needed this in the first place. Hold on, I might have been bamboozled by my own wrong thinking. So my thinking had been, can this ever back up? Like, can stone back up and the whole thing blocks up? And the way that would happen is if, let's say we're low on moss, so that part's false. And then we've got stone for a while, and so it's on the number 2 recipe that's using stone, the stone recipe, blah, 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 blah. We get low on stone, and so then as soon as we get low on stone, it switches off the stone recipe. So then that dumps, 60 times 40 stone a piece is 2,400 stone gets dumped onto the output belts for a while. And that gets shuffled into here. And 2,400 is 240, 24, it's 48 stacks of stone. So those 48 stacks start flowing towards here. Let's assume this was empty to start. So now there's 48 stacks in here, and these are running the channel 1 recipe because of being low on stone. Then, if they switch back to using stone, the 2,400 stone... Okay, I don't need this at all. I'm sorry. I was bamboozled. People on YouTube got me doubting, and I think I got bamboozled by their thinking too. No, I'm sorry. I don't want to blame YouTube for my poor thinking. I got bamboozled by myself, but they got bamboozled by themselves too. Because as long as this is faster, like as long as this provides more than half of the stone, I don't think it's possible to have any problems here. Because if it switches back and forth constantly, which it shouldn't, that shouldn't be possible because we're getting full train loads of stone at a time. So it could switch, to the stone mode, but then maybe right after it switches to the stone mode, now we have enough moss, so it switches off again. But in that time, it did at least 1 recipe of stone. And if it didn't, most of the stone that got buffered into these came from the buffer in the first place. Because this provides the majority of a full half belt. If they're consuming the 20 stone a second, 18 of that's coming from this. So that means only a few pieces of new stone could be introduced into the system. If this was much slower, then we could have a problem. But because this is 18 a second, I think we are pretty much guaranteed to be fine. As long as it runs like 1 or 2 recipes on the stone mode. Because again, even if it switched immediately, pretty much all of that stone that got loaded in before the switch came from this in the first place. So there's only a tiny window where stone could even be added to this after a buffer session. So I don't think we need this at all. I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to trust in what I just figured out. What I do want to measure though And I think some of you might find this interesting. This is a total tangent, but this is part of the Zen garden, right? We muck about for a bit. I am curious the actual rate of items per second. So I'm gonna make a little items per second measurer, which I forget how to do. So we're gonna figure that out together. I did it once upon a time. So whatever it is, it just gets loaded back into here. So we're just testing rates, and I guess we'll just do transport belts. So basically what we want is to count how many items are on the belt each tick, but then decay some percentage of that each tick. So we're gonna read. We could also just pulse rather than hold. No, I think I want to hold, because then we'll get an average belt density. And so what we want to do is we want to do belt times 99%. Oh, I guess we have to do times 99. Output belt. And then divide that by 100? I don't know if this is gonna work. So that's outputting 99% of... Well, let's just have it as 100. So... No, we need another one that does like a decay. How do I do this? But you can't multiply by a fraction. What if I just divide by 2? Output belt. I know this isn't right. Just bear with me. This is how you figure things out, by the way. As a math tutor, it's always interesting to watch students who are scared to start trying something because they don't know the answer. They try to figure out the whole thing before they even put one combinator down, so to speak, in their math problem. And it's like, just try stuff. Play around with the numbers. Take baby steps towards doing things, and it's in that you start to discover what you actually want to be doing. Okay, well that explains why that's not doing anything. That's the wrong transport belt. I did feel like something was wrong. There we go. It's the wrong transport belt everywhere. Okay. Okay, so what if how do we take a rolling average of the last 60 ticks? That's basically what we want to do. We basically want to add in the green belt number plus the red belt number, but then we want to subtract a 60th of it. I think that's what we want to do. So we want to take belt plus belt from green. Is that right? I don't know if this is right. Divide by 60, output belt. I don't know if this is gonna work. That's why we try it. So then we don't want the green from that. We want the green from this. And then we hook that up. Okay. Does this do anything? Not really. Oh, we're multiplying by 100, so... That was just supposed to make it not have as many decimals. But it doesn't really seem to be helping. No, we need to be looping something. This isn't like a memory cell. Why is this so hard? You know, we'll figure it out. I'm having fun with this. I know you guys might be like, this is such a waste of an episode. He's not getting anything done. Well, here, let's at least make our time not totally wasted here. We'll make the base busy. How's that? We'll make the base be a little busy while we're doing things that maybe aren't quite as productive as what some of you may be wishing I was doing. No, you guys are great. I feel like as an audience, you guys are generally pretty good about not being impatient with the odd things that I like to do. In fact, the reason I'm doing this is because I have received many comments from you guys that actually implies you enjoy such things. So that's part of why I'm doing this. Because I think you guys like to see me figure crap out. And if you already know the answer to how this works, then I do apologize, because you're kind of like maybe a little bored. But so what we want to do is some sort of like constant summation. So let's start with that. So it takes the input as red, and then it adds the red, it adds the green, which is itself. So then this is just gonna fly out of control. Perfect. That's what we want though. So now it's adding in the new ones whenever they exist, and then it's adding in the old ones. So on every tick, we're growing. So now we want to take that and divide by 60. And output belt. But then negate it. Look, I don't know what I'm doing. It's so weird because I remember figuring this out like a long time ago. I mean, like maybe before nuclear existed. Like I do remember figuring this out. Okay, it's doing something. Okay, it seems to be settling down to a number. That's good news. I don't know what that number is, but it's settling to a number. What if I do 120? If I do 120, it settles to a bigger number. So theoretically, if we wanted to average the items over the last 10 seconds, we want to take the sum. We want to add, you know, I think I do want pulse actually, because I want to add how many items entered the belt, not how many items are on the belt. No, I could do both, right? And it's just a different math. This would give me actual items per second, whereas this would give me items on the belt on average. And if to get items per second versus items on the belt, we just have to do that math that we've already done of like knowing that to get 15 items a second, there's 8 items on the belt. So items on the belt, 1 item on the belt on average per second is more than 1 item per second, and we would just have to do that conversion rate. So this should work either way. So we want to take the sum of the last 60 ticks and then divide by 60. So how do we sum the last 60 ticks in a way that actually makes sense? This tick plus the last tick. Can we just do this tick plus the last, this one, the last one plus half of the last one plus this one? And then half of that plus this one? And then half of that plus this one? That creates a pretty quick decay. That's too fast of a decay. So what if I did a third of what I already have plus the next one? That gives me 1.33 total stuff. And then I do a third of that total stuff plus this one. That gives me, I assume it approaches 1.5 total stuff, because if we're talking 1/3, we would do, or is that right? Or maybe it gives me 2. What's hold on, I'm close, because what's a third of 1.333 plus 1? And then a third of that plus 1. Because that's what we need to divide by at the end. Let's see. So that's 1.333 times 0.333 plus 1. And then we do that times 0.333 plus 1. And then we do that times 0.333 plus 1. Yeah, it approaches 1.5. I was correct. How did I get that? I don't know. I knew it would go from like a third to 3/2 somehow. Call it intuition. Anyway, that's a slightly different point. I think I'm on the right track here, because that would create a rolling average. It is emphasizing the most recent tick the most, though, because we did a third plus the current tick. So what we want to do is a third of what we had. No, let's go back to the 1/2. The 1/2 is the easiest one to figure out correctly. So if I wanted to know like the average of the last 2 ticks, I would take half of what I had, half of this tick, plus half of the new tick. And that actually gives me the correct ratio. And then that's a new number. And then on the next tick, I would take half of that number plus half of my current tick. And then on the next tick, I would take half of the, okay. Let's do that first. Let's average the last 2 ticks. And when I say half, what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna do times 50. And that enables the math to be better. So half is like half of 100 times the amount of belts. So that way we can end up with proper decimals. So what we need to do is we need to add in the number that this one has, because this is half of that, that's half of the new one, plus we need to do half of the old one. And the old one is whatever we have on green. So we're doing times 0.5. So we're doing red plus green times 0.5. We can't do times 0.5. We can do divide by 2 though. Perfect. Okay. So this is averaging the last 2 ticks, I think, correctly. Because it's taking... I think that's correct. Call me crazy. So I think if I do divide by 50 and I do times 2, we get the average of the last 50 ticks. No. Because we get rounding errors. So wait, I did times 50 for a half. So I'm trying to do a 50th. What a 50th of a... So I think I just need to add more still. Wait, why does that not... No, something's still wrong. Oh, hold on. Wait. I want to add 1/50th of the old into 49/50ths. Ah, we want to keep 49/50ths. I really wish you could multiply by a fraction. So we want to take out 1/50th and add in a 50th each time. So we want to be subtracting a 50th. You know, I'm going to do an arithmetic combinator, and this might create like a 1-tick delay problem. I'm guessing it's going to. But we want to subtract out a 50th from this. So we take this divided by 50 divided by -50. Wait, could I do that one this way? Could I have done this one that way? No, that doesn't work. So then this one divides it by -50 and outputs that. Ooh, I think that might be sort of working. And then we wanted to multiply this by 2. So is this now averaging over the last 50 ticks? I think it is. Because what we're doing... And why don't we do pulse so that we actually get items per second? That doesn't seem like it's doing it correctly. So how did this work again? So we look at... So in the 1/2 version, we took out... We did half of the new one, half of the new tick, plus half of whatever we had before. And that averages the last 2 ticks. In the 3 version, what we need to do is take whatever we had before, and we want 2/3 of that, plus... Whoa, my mouse... I feel like my mouse sometimes changes sensitivity. I know that's probably not true, but it just feels really weird right now. So we do half of what we had before, plus half of this one, and that gives us the average of the last 2 ticks. The average of the last 3 ticks is 2/3 of what we had before, plus 1/3 of the new tick. And that would create 1 whole. And then now we have that, and then we would do 2/3 of what we had before, plus 1/3 of this, and then 2/3 of what we had before. So if we were doing the average of the last 60 ticks, we would do, let's do 600 ticks even to make it easier. So we would take away 1/600th of that and then add on the new number, but we would want to add on 1/600th of it. Because if we add, I guess if we add on the whole number and then take away 1/600th and then add we're just going to end up with double our number if we don't cut that one into a fraction. Because we're basically doing 599 out of 600 plus 1, which is roughly 2. Hey, we got a research done. That's what we're really doing here. Is we're just stalling for research. Let's get the floor tiles researched, advanced mining facilities, and we'll work towards Moondrop Stage 2. We'll get that random wastewater from BioCrud going. Okay. And by the way, I'm sure I could look this up, but the figuring it out is really fun for me. I'm enjoying this. I apologize if this is not your episode. Okay, so let's see. What we want to do is, so this is just a memory cell. It's just adding together the transport belts and outputting them again. But then it remembers its own transport belts. Now that's doing ×2, which should be the 1/50th of 100. Let's do 1/50th of 1,000. Okay. So then this should be a running average of the last 50 ticks, theoretically. But then that's only saying 0.2 items a second, or 0.2 items per 50 ticks, and that's certainly not right. You add the item in, it should just loop around forever. But we're taking away a 50th. Every tick. Every tick we're taking away, or is it every 2 ticks? Ah, it's every 2 ticks. Well, that, because it takes 1 tick for that to go there, and then another tick for this to process its update. No, this is seeing its own output. No, it's not. Sorry. Both of those outputs are separately connected to this. So then it is taking a tick. Yeah, no, I think there's something wrong here. I think we need this. That's still giving me the same numbers. Okay. So we're subtracting, so we're supposed to add 2/3, so we subtract 1/3 from what we had. That goes into this number. We take 1/3 of what we now have. That goes into this number. I add those numbers, and now we should have a new number that is the average of the last 3 ticks. Is that not what we're doing? We're taking our new number. That's this one. And we're cutting it into a 50th. And then we're taking our old number old numbers in this one. We're taking away, we're dividing it by 50. So that's now 1/50th of the old number. Well, we're negating it, so we've got negative 1/50th. So then we want to do negative 1/50th plus our current number, and that's the number we then want to add to this. So we're really adding 3 numbers per tick. We want to add, so we've got the negative 1/50th. We've got the new number times an amount. That's the actual raw amount times the amount. That gives us the 1/50th. We've got the old number, and then we've got the negative 1/50th. And then we want to combine that with the old number itself, which is this number, to get 49/50ths. But then we can combine that with the new number in the same tick, which is what we're doing. Because this signal that's outputting this red signal is going back to the old number input, which is this one. And the green cycle has it go back to, and then that. So we are combining 3 things. 1, 2, we're combining the old number, we're combining the new negative 1/50th, and we're combining the positive 1/50th, which is this. So this should be giving me the average pulse if this had constant items, like 15 items a second, what would the output be on every tick? I hadn't really thought about it that way. Throughout the course of 60 ticks, you should see 15 items. If it was a full belt. So I think that should work, right? So the average would be 1/4 of an item per tick. So here, we're seeing a per 50 ticks average of how many items we see per tick. Ah, we're averaging the last 50 ticks, but we're looking at how many items we see on that tick only. Let's go back to looking at how many items are on the belt at a given time. Belt density. So this is now averaging belt density over 50 ticks. Now, if we want to change it to 60, which gives us the second, let's change it to 600. So to average 600 ticks, we need to divide by negative 600. And then this one, if we want to inflate the numbers by 100, so we need to do 1/600th times 100. I'm gonna have to do much bigger than that. 1/600th times 10,000 is 16.6. Even that's pretty far off. So to get within 1%, I need to do times 100,000. This is really annoying. These numbers just get way too big because it can't do fractional division. So to represent decimals, we have to just inflate the numbers. So I need to do 167 here. And this represents inflating the belt count by 100,000. So then this one, we actually shouldn't have to do anything different there. We just look at, we look at this, and that should be giving us the average. I mean, is that right? So is that saying, what is that saying? So it's inflated by 100,000. So is that saying we have 6.6 items on the belt on average? I think that's what that's saying. Like if I cut this off, you can see that it shrinks down. It is an exponential decay thing, so it does need steady state. It's not actually averaging the last so many seconds. You know what I mean? But it should resume to going back to being that same amount eventually here. Because it's like a Markov chain or whatever. So what this is saying is we have... Oh, I gotta wait until it stops growing, but it takes a little while to zero in, I guess. It's basically saying we have 6 items on the belt per second, but we've already determined... I really wish this would be smarter. The inserter throughput number. But I'm kind of glad we're figuring this out. So 6.6 items on the belt on average should mean that we have 6.6, because if you had 8 items on the belt times 1.875, that gives you your 15 a second. So if we had 8 items on the belt on average, we do it times 1.875, so 6.6 times 1.875. So what we're actually learning is a stack inserter might only be capable of 12 items a second, if I did this math correctly. So now what we're gonna do, to kind of find out how correct did we do this, is we're gonna test a fully compressed belt. And a fully compressed belt should be pretty damning to get us to the correct numbers. So we should see this settle in to 800,000. If this does not settle into 800,000, then there's some errors in our system. But testing a known quantity first makes a lot of sense. I should have been doing this from the start. It's looking pretty good. Sure looks like it's approaching 800K. We might be off by 1/600th, I wonder. I don't know, that's looking pretty good. Look at it go. Oh my gosh, this was all worth it. I know this was a whole episode, and you guys might be rolling your eyes because you don't care, but look at that. It's approaching 800K. Oh my gosh. Is it gonna actually... Oh, it hit 800K. That's beautiful. I wonder if it's gonna go too high. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. It is going too high. That's fine. It's probably because of like a tick delay or something. It's very close though. So again, to oh, wow, it actually like reached steady state. It doesn't even have a... I don't know what happened, but it reached perfect equilibrium. Where the amount coming in is exactly offsetting the amount negating to where it removed one of the signals. Anyway, so 8 times the 1.875 is, is 15. And this is 15 items a second for sure. We know that for a fact. So that means this is an accurate way to measure items per second. Gosh, freaking craziness. Now, is there a way that we could factor in the times 1.875 already? And I think there is. We can just multiply this number times 1.875. So if I take that times 1.875, that's actually 312.5. I guess we'd rather slightly underestimate than overestimate. So if I change this to 312.5, I hate that. I'm just gonna change it into, well, 3125, we might lose sig figs. Let's see what happens though. Yeah, we're gonna lose sig figs. Or no, is this just gonna approach 15 exactly? Oh, but see, then it doesn't do decimals. Oh, that's so annoying. I hate the way Factorio does decimals. It'll give you, well, actually no. I just hate that it only gives you 2 figures either way. I think it'll give you 3 figures Sometimes? Yeah, when you're in the hundreds, it gives you 3 figures. But if you have a letter, it only gives you 2, which is annoyingly inaccurate. But this should give us the 15 a second. And we could read the decimal if we want, just doing that divided by 10. Or 100. Wait, is that working? No, wait, I need a modulus. Oh, that's not really helping, is it? Wait, if we modulus 1,000,000, we're taking off the 14. So 14.99999. That's what that's saying. There we go. There's our decimals. Oh, that's beautiful. 15.001. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's beautiful. It's telling me items per second. I'm so happy. I am so happy. If you guys are happy, leave a comment. I am so happy with this. This is telling me items per second, and I'm very, very excited about it. It takes a while to settle down because it's exponential decay. It's not actually averaging the last 600 ticks. It's just weighting the previous tick at 599 out of 600, and it's weighting the current tick at 1/600th, and it's just combining those constantly. So it is an exponential system. I don't know how many seconds it takes to measure down to like a 1% accuracy, but you can see here that this stack inserter, we finally have our answer, is giving us 12.3 to 12.5 items a second. Wow. That is crazy. I thought it was more than that. So, because I just assumed it was 6 items per second, but it's not. Like 6 stacks per second times 3. So I don't know what that 6 is all about. Where's it getting 6? Because stacking doesn't take any longer than dropping. If this was a bulk inserter that could hold 4 items, and it would drop 4 items in a row that said it was 6 per second, it would drop stacks of 1 at the same rate of stacks of 3. So inserter throughput's just full on wrong here. And I wonder if it's because it's a 2x1 inserter. I wonder if that has something to do with it. I'm guessing it does, actually. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just jazzed that we finally got that working. Anyway, so what do I want to do? Do I now want to save this as a blueprint because it works? I think so. So this is now, let's make it compact. And then we just plug something in there. So this is just averaging whatever it's seeing. Well, it is designed specifically for a belt because it's got the ratio of the 1.875 thrown in there. So it's not actually averaging exactly what it sees. If we wanted it to average what it sees over the last 10 seconds, we would need to divide by the 1.875 again. But this is now a blueprint that's going into my blueprint book. Oop, wrong button. What's the blueprint button? Oh, just B. Right, just B. 10 sec averager. Boom. If you want it, you can ask me on Discord and I'll give it to you. Now, I will make this episode a few minutes longer because that is all we did in pretty much the entire episode so far. And I won't leave you guys on that. You know, you might make fun of me, you might not, you might love it, wherever you are in the spectrum of that, it did at least have a purpose, because we now know the stack inserter's drop rate. And that's actually helpful, right? And we have a blueprint that can measure it when we change stack sizes and stuff. So we now know that this is actually only accomplishing about 12.5 a second, which means my idea that this could never back up is slightly less true. It's still unlikely because we're using 60% of the stone we're using is coming from the storage. And so within, and how much stone was it using? 20 a second? So within 10 seconds, we've already used 200 stone. Within 60 seconds, we've already used 1,200 stone. And most of 60% of that stone that we've used has come from the backup. So as long as it runs for like a minute, we've probably already reached equilibrium where we've used more stone from the backup than we've added into the system from the train section. 1,200, I don't even know if that's true. I think it actually might be less than 60 seconds. So I really am not worried about it. It would only have to run for a minute or less when it switches over. So if it switches and then it switches back and then it switches and then it switches back and then it switches and then it switches back by some, I don't even know if it's possible for it to switch 3 times in a row. Maybe it technically is. I'm not gonna think about it right now. It's maybe possible it could back up, but I'm not worried about it. So next we are going to, I'm not gonna improve glass right now. I'm just gonna take that off the list. I'll wait until I run out of glass. Whatever. What we're gonna do is we're gonna work on some Mark II creatures and plants. And I'm gonna do that with a new section of train stuff. Probably controlled with bots. And at least for now, I'm probably gonna do 2 requesters. So let's see. Doesn't really matter which side we're doing requesters on, because I'm just gonna load things into, oh, wait. But that does mean I should leave more space. Boop, boop. Space for loading into like provider chests and stuff. So I'll do that and then delete this. And then we're gonna need some extra bots. So we'll do one here and one here for channel 1. Okay. And then merge these. And then we're definitely gonna need, we need quite a few random fluids. So I actually think I might need 2 F requesters. I'm just gonna preemptively build 2. I don't even know how many. I should probably add this second tank in to the blueprint. I really wish there was space for that last tank. I mean, I guess there could be. I could put this signal, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like we should do that. It just feels like that kind of makes sense. I'm not gonna do it right this second, but anyway, I'm just gonna get these preemptively set up for the, uh-oh, what's happening with trains? It's that stupid ash again. Ah, where are you coming from? There is a thing that is making lots of ash somewhere that's loading ash onto a thing. Uh-oh. Oh, we got problems, baby. Okay. Fix oxides super trasher. That's not even the problem I was hoping to solve. Why are rare earth oxides in our super trasher, by the way? That's maybe what's gone wrong here. Really? Oh my god. Oh, I had even clicked it. I just didn't click that. Oh no. Oh, come on, man. That's brutal. And do we not have iron oxide final trash? I thought we had set that up. Did we not? Okay, well, you know, the Zen Garden experience continues. We got things to fix. But I thought we had set up the final trash for iron oxide. Yeah. No. I just didn't request it. Man. Y'all, sometimes I question. I question myself. Sometimes I question myself. Alright, well that's fixed now. Gosh. Anyway, if you guys can figure out where that ash loading belt is that we need to improve, I would be eternally grateful. I don't know which one it is. I feel like we have to... It's definitely not that one. Whatever this one is loading at full rate. So it's also very full. So that means we're gonna need a whole nother requester station for this stuff, because the 2-train limit is, I think, becoming the problem now. Or we could potentially I was gonna say we could have another unloader, but I've maxed out this. Well, no, I haven't maxed it out. I could make it longer. Probably in this direction. And then I could have a couple loaders on this side of the train unloading it, and then it would unload the trains faster. That is probably what I'll do. How many can I fit over here, though, is the problem. Well... let's start with this. So we'll start with that to make it longer. And then we'll work on that here in a minute. Okay. We'll be done with the episode soon, but yeah, I don't know where we're gonna find that. Anyway, back to this. So our goal is gonna be to kind of just Mark II-ize all the things that we can. Mark II-ify, maybe is a better word for that. I would like to Mark II-ify lots of things. So we're gonna Mark II-ify. Let's look at the actual stuff we have access to. We're gonna Mark II-ify. Well, we're gonna automate SAP Mark II. So we've got SAP Mark II, Tree Mark II, Seaweed Mark II, and soon Phywoji and Moondrop. There's also fish. And some of these might make more sense to do on site. We'll just have to do them one at a time. Up marking. Flora and fauna. So we want to do sap Mark II, tree Mark II, Woji Mark II. What was the other one? Moondrop Mark II. We're researching that one. And then it was Fish Mark II. Valk Mark IIs might end up working out better. So I think we can do all the plants in one place because they have a lot of similar things like fertilizer, but for the animals, I feel like it makes more sense to do that where the animals are because it needs so many of the same ingredients, right? And so like it just makes sense to make our Valk Mark IIs here. And then the Valk Mark IIs are eventually used to make Valk Mark III? No? Yeah, the Valk Cocoon Mark IIs are. Look at that. You use 50 Valk Cocoon Mark IIs just for a shot out of Valk Mark III. It's just as bad as starting the initial breeding program. It might be worse even. So we need about 1 billion Valk Cocoon Mark IIs, is what that means. That's nuts. And now that one's calling itself stuck, even with 6 unloaders. How many stone brick loaders do I have? Stone brick loaders, we have 6. Gosh, 6 loaders in and 6 out is still giving me train stuck. I might change the Cybersyn timeout, because that's just too much. I'm gonna bump it up another 30 seconds. Gosh, I can't believe it's taking some trains more than 10 minutes. But it does make sense when they're loading 20,000 objects. Okay, well, we're gonna have to call this an episode. Again, I know we didn't get certain things done, which, because we mostly were focusing on our combinator circuitry, which might be somewhat disappointing to some of you. But, you know, I'm happy with what we got done. I hope you are too, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.